What are chemtrails? Some people refer to it as cloud seeding, but it all falls under the same umbrella. The government will tell you that since jets fly high in the atmosphere, where the air is typically under 40 degrees Fahrenheit, the hot air being released from the jet engines release a cloud of condensed water. That's called a condensation trail, or contrail for short. It's very similar to when you go out on a cold day and exhale, you create condensation. Now let's say, if you were to take a 2-mile walk on a cold day and you turn around and you see your condensation trail tracking all the way back for 2 miles, that's how crazy it is to think that what we're looking at in the sky are condensation trails. Many people believe that these contrails are basically a geoengineering program where airplanes fly at high altitudes spraying chemicals into the atmosphere, including aluminum, barium, and strontium. These heavy metals then fall on the ground, entering our soil, water, and respiratory system. Allergy and asthma rates are rising worldwide as a result of these chemical sprayings. Alzheimer's disease and autism are both linked to high levels of aluminum in the body. Bear in mind that everything I'm going to be discussing in this video is purely facts and information. At the end of the day, you decide for yourself if what we're seeing in the sky are contrails or chemtrails. Chemicals are not just something to sweep under the rug, since there are 32 states that already have legislation that's related to weather modification. The US agencies that are documented to be involved are the US Air Force, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the US Department of the Interior, and the National Science Foundation. This is happening and it's completely documented. You just have to know where to look, because of course this is not being talked about on mainstream media and weather reports. Even though it's a fact that these metals are in the atmosphere and that they're falling on the ground, when you acknowledge that and question the legitimacy of it, it becomes controversial. Some think that this is just a weather modification program, like putting snow on ski slopes on a bad season. Others think that the so-called solar radiation management is backfiring, because the idea is that you blanket the sky with these heavy metals and it reflects the sun back to itself. However, it's also creating a blanket and trapping all the heat, causing global warming. What most people believe though is that chemtrailing and cloud seeding is a very sinister plan to get people sick and further control our subconscious and food supply. The fact is, there are many different types of concerns, no matter what belief system you go with. In 2009, Prince was on PBS talking with Travis on the Travis Smiley Show, and he encouraged the audience to investigate chemtrails. He stated that he first learned about the odd phenomenon from civil rights leader Dick Gregory. Here's a clip from that interview.
He said something that really hit home about this phenomena of chemtrails. And, you know, when I was a kid, I used to see these trails in the sky all the time. And so, oh, that's cool. A jet just went over. And then you started to see a whole bunch of them. And next thing you know, everybody in your neighborhood was fighting and arguing and you didn't know why. Okay, and you really didn't know why. I mean, everybody was fighting.
The United States has a tendency and long history of testing biological and chemical agents on an unknowing public. The topic of weather modification is very often ridiculed because it's categorized as a conspiracy theory. But as far back as the 1950s, governments were experimenting and successfully manipulating weather patterns. When you realize that 80% of the global economy is impacted by weather, it will certainly give somebody an upper hand. Here's the difference between a normal jet contrail and a chemtrail. Notice how the smoke isn't coming from the engines, but from the tip of the wings. Radiohead very recently released a music video to their song Daydreaming. Why am I mentioning this? Well, their music video is basically about chemtrailing and geoengineering and how it's negatively affecting us as a species. Here's a very good video that goes much more in depth about it. Now that you know all this information, you might have a lot of questions. One of those questions might be, how can I stop the government from doing this? The answer is simple: exposure. The more people that know, the better. Chuck Norris also took on chemtrails on an article he published from WorldNet Daily. He referred to them as sky criminals. He stated that they were waging war on our atmosphere and on our health. In the 1950s, a British cloud seeding weather modification experiment was declassified called Project Cumulus, which was responsible for an excessive amount of rain in southern England that caused a major flood, destroying homes and killing around 40 people, all because the rain just wouldn't stop. The point is, they can't fool everybody. It's admitted they're doing these secret tests, they just classify the details. Now that I've provided you with these facts and information, you make the decision. Are chemtrails real, or is it just a crazy conspiracy theory?